Who's got the wrapper? Come on, already?
Oh, ASMR. I didn't know that's what I signed up for today.
All right. So, hey, welcome to Stage Door, a theater podcast hosted by a couple of average guys.
Yep.
And today, And then today we're talking to people who also love theater, which that doesn't happen too often on here.
Wait.
No, everybody is. But you guys actually love theater enough that you write about it. So one of you works for the Blade and does a column. How often do you do that column? How much does it come out, Lily?
Weekly, roughly. I mean, 90% of the time weekly.
Weekly? 90%? Really? There's a column every week, like in the Peach?
Yes, on the Thursday paper, just under the theater header, somewhere in the Weekender, there's almost always a column by me, usually a preview of a local show.
Do they still call it the Peach section?
They call it the Peach section, but only, so in the Weekender's like, I'm already going inside baseball. I used to be a copy editor, so I'm like, Here's how the paper works. But
please, that's fine.
So, there's the Weekender, which is an insert, and then there's the Peach section, which is daily. And so every day has a Peach section, and it's on non-print days. It's usually 2 to 3, it's 3 pages. And then there's the Peach Plus, which is the fun peach-colored page. But,
I didn't know that. I didn't know any of this. I always thought like the Peach section was I always thought, I guess, the Peach Plus was the Peach section. And is that just the liberal? Is that like the arts? Is that the arts section? The Peach section? What is that?
So it is. It's the like entertainment and arts section.
Okay.
There are rough guidelines on what goes on each day. But they change. So at this moment, I'm not sure, except that Thursday has the Weekender, which is the entertainment insert for events that are coming up next week.
Okay. So one more question you probably don't know the answer to. Why is it the Peach section? Did they give you a rundown as to why it's called that?
I mean, I know that across the country they're called Peach sections, but our Peach Plus is a little unusual in that it is literally peach colored.
Yes.
So, as someone who one time I once. Sometimes it can make things a little bit harder if you're designing the page, but I'm not.
The
doing
color
that frequently.
peach makes it harder.
Yes, yeah. For things like
red, white, and blue flags.
It's more like, so there's a Norman comic that runs on that page, and you have to tint the color of the Norman to the same peach as the rest of the page.
Oh.
Yeah. So, which is something that when you're not the normal person doing it, you're like, how on earth does this happen? How does this get to be
See, that's the
color?
designer thing. That's called printing. They don't want to pay for another peach color, right? That's what that is. It's like, hey, we got one peach color, darn it. We're not going to put another peach color next to this peach color. Just make it consistently look the same way, and we're good to go. Oh, and then you've just also taught me something in the fact that I didn't know that the peach was a thing that was just all over the country. Didn't know that.
Nope.
Did you know that, Ron?
Nope.
It's like when I moved to Florida and it was in Orlando and we had Fox 35. I'm like, oh, it's exactly Fox 36 graphics, exactly everything. That's how naive I am. I guess I didn't realize everybody was owned by everybody. So, and then we have Nicole. Nicole, you do it's called the Tuttle what?
Tuttle Theater Talk.
Tuttle Theater Talk.
Yeah.
And how long's that one been around? That one hasn't been around that long, right?
No, it's actually fairly new. Right when I just moved back to the area, actually, from Cleveland. I've been there for a couple years. And moved back to the area, and I knew that I wanted to start writing about some theater.
Really?
In the area, yeah. And because one of the things that I loved so much when I was doing theater, I went to Bowling Green as an undergrad.
Okay.
So one thing I loved doing was waiting for those articles to come out and like seeing what people thought of our shows and everything.
Oh, you performed at Bowling Green?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Bowling Green University?
Yeah.
Okay,
I was a
BGSU.
theater major there.
Okay.
So one of my favorite days was when the articles would come out and people would be reviewing our shows. And I just knew that I kind of wanted to be a part of that.
Gotcha.
And
you wanted to be the person
Yeah.
delivering the news, not the person anticipating the news and not
Exactly.
getting slammed and everything.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into all that. So we're going to go into like the deep dive on how you guys became what you're doing, because I think that's the most interesting part of the whole conversation. Not the fact that you work for the Blade or you have a blog, which is fine, and it's about theater. But I want to know like how you did this. So Lillian, sounds like you are a journalist major to begin with.
Nope.
No. Okay. I love it.
Yeah, so I went to BGSU as well, and
Okay.
I was a creative writing major.
Okay, well that's good though too. Creative writings, that's
I went to BG as a creative writing major
Oh, look at that.
look at that.
40 years ago.
So they've improved. Is that what you're saying?
Probably,
Since then? Okay. They've gotten much better
I
teachers
took
since
a
then.
creative writing class there.
Oh, Oh, everybody's done it, Lillian. You're not
Yeah,
special
I was
at
gonna
all.
say, I've taken a
apparently.
couple of them, but
I didn't do any of that
just
stuff.
a few more than one.
yeah, just a couple.
You took
but-
a couple? I did. I took 0, so if it makes you feel better, you're way ahead of me. So.
But
yeah.
Lillian, did you also do theater? Or
So no, I didn't do. So I always say that I was when I was in high school, I was a theater kid for like 2 years until I realized I wasn't a theater kid. I was just loud. I just talked a lot, and I was
No,
like,
that's
wait,
good.
I don't like doing theater.
So somebody lied to you probably when you were a kid and you were theatrical. They're like, this person, you put her
No.
in a show. No.
No, and I also never auditioned for anything. Except I auditioned. So I went to Toledo School for the Arts, and I was
okay.
almost in one show in 6th grade because I don't even remember. I don't know. I just somehow ended up cast in The Hot Mikado, and then
I'm sorry, the what?
The Hot Mikado.
That's the name of the show, The Hot Mikado?
Yeah, it's a classic Gilbert and Sullivan.
Okay, I have to believe you.
And it's not done frequently anymore today.
As a 6th grader, a classic Gilbert and Sullivan as a 6th grader. That's what you were going to do?
Well, it was the High School Musical,
Oh,
and,
okay.
and I was one of the like few 6th graders cast, and a decision that still baffles me. And then I stopped going because to rehearsal because I got bored because I was 11. So
Oh.
and it was Gilbert and Sullivan.
It was a play or a musical?
It's a musical.
It's a musical. So it's like the big main stage musical, and you're like, this is not.
Yeah, I do look. I mean, I do regret that, but also there should have been some adult in my life being like, you should go to you should go to rehearsal.
Yeah, that's very good.
Oh, and I was vice president of junior thespians somehow when I was 11 in 6th grade when no one knew me, and then I
Okay.
stopped going to that too. So
Jeez, you were just like, this is all boring. I don't know. But as a 6th grader in the high school show, I'm assuming you had like a nothing part anyway. That's probably why
Yes.
you were bored.
yes, I was in the choir, and I was literally just, and I think it's kind that they do cast 6th graders in the high school show to get them that experience, and they get to feel special.
Yeah. But at the same time,
yeah.
if they're just going to stand off to the wings for 98% of it, that's also a terrible experience for your first ones.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to do it, do it. If you're not, don't. Just don't. Or make you go to one rehearsal. Go to this rehearsal, but never come back for another 4 weeks.
but you must like theater. You must go to shows.
Yes, I do like theater, and I've always enjoyed theater, and I did the way that Toledo School for the Arts worked. I don't know how it is now. They have a creative writing major now, so
Yes,
it would be
yeah,
different.
it would have
now.
been nice back then, huh?
Sure would have been. It started the year after I graduated.
Oh, of course.
I like to take credit for it.
Why were you the one pounding on the door? Like, why isn't there a creative writing class here? Why isn't there creative, like every day, this is dumb,
Yeah.
I should have creative writing?
Honestly, I mean, they had a couple classes at the time, and there was a club, but there wasn't like a major. And I do think the success of both the class and the club helped. But when it came to, I always lose my train of
That's
thought.
okay. That's okay. So you were back. Let's go back to you were doing journalism at BGSU.
Yes.
So you started doing TSA. You started as a 6th grader, and that's when you fell in love with theater and quit right away.
Exactly. And then
You're like, I love this. I quit.
And I took
Yeah.
tons of theater classes in high school, and then only like later switched to regular, to visual art classes. But
Really?
then-
So you went through and took all the classes with Miss LaFever and Miss Quinlan and everybody that whole time?
well, up until sophomore year. No, I was in art, and then I did take several theater classes, but not enough for a creative writing degree.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss LaFever, Miss Quinlan, Miss Best,
Okay.
and then
Rosie Best? Miss Rosie Best?
yes, Miss Rosie Best.
Yeah.
She was my 8th grade teacher.
Okay,
and then,
cool.
Switched to art, and then I occasionally went to shows, and then I ended up going into journalism. I got a master's degree in folklore, and then afterwards, I moved back to Toledo area. I was working at Cedar Point. I applied to the Blade.
Hold up. You're skipping so many things. You're flying really fast. So where'd you go to school?
University of Louisiana.
I'll say, because you said you moved back. So you went to
Yeah.
University of Louisiana to write. You said, right? No, that's your master's.
in folklore.
Oh my
I was trying to
goodness
get. I was
gracious.
like, there's two. I was trying to shovel past all of it.
No
It's not
kidding.
theater
No
related.
kidding. You're like, you were like, that's not important. That doesn't matter. So you went initially again to Bowling Green then.
Yes.
And because of your writing skills and want to, obviously. So you obviously had a desire from a very young age to start doing this then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, writing.
And-
yeah.
You can interrupt anytime, Nicole. Sorry, this isn't the Lillian
I'm
show.
trying
I'm
to-
sorry.
I'm just like, this is my favorite lore dump when I get to like learn all of the things about a people.
Yes.
This is what we
about
do.
a people,
This
about
is
a
what
person.
we do. This is 100%
No,
what we
I
do.
love it. This is
And-
awesome.
And we love it too.
I-
That's why we deep dive. I want to hear details of exactly what classes you took down in Louisiana and, you know, who you were dating
and I love it
who your
because
roommate
like
was. And
we
all that
already
stuff.
have some connections here
Ah,
because
yes.
I worked at TSA for a little while.
Oh,
I was front desk for a little while there.
okay.
What years?
1920.
Okay, yeah, long.
1920 was a long time ago. You're 104 years old. What do you mean?
I feel like it. Yeah.
19 and 20. 2019 and 2020.
Listen, I'm 104 if you ask my knees. Okay, I am. And then I also worked at Cedar Point. Oh, awesome!
Did you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in live entertainment
Really?
for a little while, and then also did ride ops before that. But before
I
got
also
into-
worked at Cedar Point.
Look at
For real.
us.
I was in like food stuff.
I went to Cedar Point.
Yes, you did.
All those little
I
worked
went
in-
to the Red Carter Saloon.
Yeah, I worked
love
in
the
the
Red Garden
wagons
Saloon.
where they had the chocolate covered frozen bananas and stuff. That was me. I still am me.
Nice, nice.
What'd you do at Cedar Point? though?
Guest services and admissions. So between us, we could run most of the park.
No kidding, right? Yeah. We just need somebody to
let's do
sweep
it.
up the cigarette butts and we're good to go. Oh, wait.
That's park services, which is all under park operations. So not too
there we
far
go.
away. Yeah.
Never mind. So we do have rides, entertainment, food, and park
Yeah,
operations.
but I'd have to be your manager because by the time I left, I was full time.
Oh.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't do any of that stuff. Let's go over and bug.
Yeah.
Let's go and bug Nicole and see what she did here. Okay, so let's listen to your life. Where'd you go to school?
For sure. So I had my undergrad at BGSU.
No, where'd you go to high school? Let's go back.
High school.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my gosh. I went to Keystone High School in Little LaGrange, Ohio.
Keystone High School is in the playoffs right now. That's why I even know about it.
Are we?
Yeah.
Good for them.
I had to make the graphics for the football team. They're playing somebody over
Oh,
here.
my dad would hate me. He coached football there forever. He would be so mad that I didn't know that just now.
That's okay. You got your own life to live, you know?
He'll never listen to this either. So.
Mutual misunderstanding.
Not going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Not in the same circles. We're
No,
good.
no.
Mine don't either. So don't worry about it.
He's a sports guy.
My kids
He'll
are
be
in-
like,
my kids did
congratulations for
theater
getting
and
on
don't
that,
listen,
and then
so.
never listen.
Yeah, my kids did theater. My wife sits here. She's like, I ain't listening to that either. In her defense, she always says, well, I hear them anyway.
Yeah.
So
Well,
sitting in the living room, we hear them. So.
I say that, but like he actually really does love theater. In fact, he was my English teacher. He taught at the school too. And
oh, you are such a liar then. He obviously is.
I know. He loves theater. He doesn't listen to podcasts.
That's okay.
Because I've been on several, and he's like, cool.
Why not?
Yeah.
He's old. He didn't like radio.
I know, right? Come on.
That's that's what I don't understand. Old people should be listening to the old timey radio shows. This is all the podcasts are.
Yeah.
They're just old timey
audio
radio
drama is just a radio play. Like,
shows.
come on.
It's 100%. So he's an English teacher.
Yeah, and he actually ran the drama club at that high school for a
Oh
couple
my
years.
gosh.
But then he
Doesn't
stopped.
like theater at all.
But then he stopped.
Lillian's like, I can't relate to you anymore. You lie through your teeth.
Oh man! And then when I was getting into high school, we didn't have a drama program anymore because he had long since stopped.
Oh, he stopped because you were coming up, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
He was like, I can't deal with that. She wants something serious, and I can't give
She's
that.
going to be super dramatic, and I can't even.
I know. And so I was like begging them, like, let me go to a different school then. Because like, this is what
wow,
I want to do.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, let me go to a different school. And my mom was like, we can't do that. But what we can do is I'll start the program again.
Nice.
And so my mom picked up the drama program.
Well,
to
if
then
nobody else is
run it.
going to do it, right?
I know. And so she actually ran it for 10 years. So she
Wow.
started it because I was there, but then kept doing it because she
How
loved
long
it.
was it not operating?
It was like at least a couple decades. Because
Wait, so 20 years?
Oh, yeah.
No, wait. Say that again.
Yeah.
Your dad started it, and then he stopped doing it, and then how long was it not running?
like 20 years.
Wait,
Because he started doing it. He did it for like I think 3 years right when he first started teaching, and he's retired now, so he's no longer a teacher. So he did it way back in like in the 80s
Oh, yeah, way back before there was TV. Yeah.
for a couple years.
podcasts.
And no podcasts. and then my mom picked it up in 2009 I think is when
Okay.
and
so
then
does your mom teach too?
no she
How did it go for 20 years and nobody was picking it up? That's what I don't
because
understand.
a Tuttle wouldn't step up for it, apparently. That's what it took. It took Tuttles.
Tuttles rule the world, man.
I was
Down
going
in-
to ask, how did you come up with the name Tuttle? Now I get it.
Yes.
Yeah,
you go.
well,
All right.
forever when I saw it initially when it was popping up on Facebook, I thought it said turtle. So,
Turtle.
because I see it once, I see
It's
turtle.
a susical thing.
Then the next time I see it again, it's like Yertle and turtle. And I'm like, I saw it like several times, your reviews popping up on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was always like, there's that turtle blog again.
Yeah.
Look at them go. Slow and steady.
Yeah. So then you were at this high school, and your mom luckily stepped up and did some theater performances.
Yeah.
And did she do it right away as a freshman when you were a freshman? So you didn't have to wait.
She actually started it the year right before I got into high school. She started it my 8th grade year and let me kind of come in and help kind of be assistant director. Because at that point, I knew so much more about theater than she did.
Oh, that sounds familiar, doesn't it, Ron? We started this theater podcast
Yeah.
as two guys
Yeah.
knew nothing about theater. And the only reason why we're doing it is because our kids did theater.
Yeah.
So we were very, very naive also. So,
Now we're really good.
yeah, now we know everything.
Yeah, we're snobs.
Yeah, we're really snobby.
Yeah.
So you did this 8th grade little shadow, I guess. I don't know what you're going to call it.
Kind of like that's
you
the
the
way.
boss, actually?
I mean, like not really, because I wasn't an adult. I was like 13 years old, and I might have thought I knew everything, but do we ever?
One of those.
But she would ask me questions like, how does a read through grow? And I was like, okay, so like we read it, but then like somebody needs to read the stage direction. She's like, great. What are stage directions? And so it was like one of those like learning things where she was so gung ho.
So how did you do theater? How did you know all this before?
I was a part of community theater.
Okay.
And so I did a lot of stuff, and they were very supportive of it, but always from the audience. Or like they dropped me off, and then I'd go.
They're like, we'll see you in 4 hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
it
how old
was,
were you when you started doing all this then?
My
were you
very-
11 like somebody else in this room?
No, my very first show was 3rd grade.
Oh, you were 7. Okay.
I was
8
like,
years
yeah,
old.
but I mean, there's videos of me singing in my living room in diapers.
They
Like
didn't
so.
they didn't go into rehearsals when you were 7 and 8 years old even?
No,
No.
no.
Jeez, my kid could barely read, so we had to be in there. It was kind of like, okay, let's sit down. Like the first show
Yeah.
they did was Susical, which was a disaster.
was my first
It was
show.
a disaster when you're a little kid though, and you can barely read still.
That's
And
fair.
the first show is Susical, and it's a bunch of made up words.
I only had one line that wasn't like a part of like because I was a Who.
Of course.
Right. That's where you start.
Yeah, you were a
I
little
think-
Who kid in the
I think
background.
a lot of people start as a Who and Susical. I share that with a lot of
You
people.
mean everyone isn't in the choir of Hot Mikado?
No, I think that might be a unique experience to you.
I think you would be a giant theater performer right now if you did Susical instead of Poppy
Mikado.
Mikado.
Yeah, that might have changed things for you.
Yeah, it might have been a little different. Oh, the Grinch. I know the Grinch. Oh, I know this. Yeah,
But
totally
yeah,
different.
I only had one line, so it was pretty easy.
So this is back to your little turtle again, actually,
Yeah.
though, Ron.
Yeah.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
That's so great. You had a line though. What was it?
did.
Butter side up.
No, I think it was in the song about the Who's, and I think it was tiniest, something in tiniest cars.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, when they're doing the whole like the tiniest horns and the tiniest things,
Yes.
and then you got to say
And
the
I got-
tiniest horn.
Yes. I said something about cars.
And
I
mom and
think.
dad were like, "Yeah,
she
so
got
proud.
flowers.
baby, right there."
Oh yeah, I did.
Yep.
Cried when it was over, and I was like, "This is it forever." I sat in a booth at Pizza Hut after that show ended and said, "I'm doing this forever." And my parents went, "Okay."
Okay, well, you're not going if we're not driving yet. So just, do you have siblings?
I do not.
Okay, so that's why they got rid of you for a few hours then.
Yeah, it was all strategic.
They were like, "Listen, if we can dump
I was
her
also
off."
loud, so they were like, "Get out."
I was also
Yeah.
an only child.
Also, look at you two.
Look at that.
Yep.
Look at
You
that.
guys are a couple of peas in the podcast. That's what you are.
Oh, for the love of Pete.
I see what you did there.
Oh, my goodness. That was good.
Sometimes they just come to me. Anywho, but the fact that you were in this, they just got rid of you. They were like,
Oh, yeah.
you know what? If we just dump her off for 4 hours, the whole house becomes the bedroom.
Stop. You can't say things like that to me.
I'm just telling you what happened. Just saying.
no.
They were like, oh, I was just helping mom with the shower head. That's all it was.
No.
We're saving water.
man.
That's what it was.
You
yeah.
just ruined Susical for me, by the way. I just want you to know.
I'm just saying it's a good plan. It's a good plan. Just, we just get rid of her. And then they were like, we don't even know what's going on in rehearsals at all ever. So that's funny to me. All right. So back on the lane here. So you went to journalism school at Bowling Green.
Nope.
No.
Sorry, creative writing. I knew this answer. I knew this. You started a whole creative club. I forgot over at TSA, basically.
I did not.
No.
So sorry. I did not start it. I just, commandeered it. Made it my
Made
own.
it better. Made it better. Made it so powerful and strong that they actually said, let's have a major after Lillian.
Yes, they call it the Lillian King Creative Writing Major.
It is now. That's all I'm going to call it from now on.
See.
So you went there, and then you learned how to write, obviously.
Yes.
So what was your goal going to be, you think, in that regard, like a creative writing?
Probably, writing books. I'm still, that's still the goal. But, I didn't realize also, I wish that there really wasn't. They now have somewhat of a journalism track at TSA now, which I think is great. But it's also, I'm like, where was that?
They also got a brand new theater TSA, just so you know. I mean, they just keep doing all kinds of things.
Which I think it's great. It's one of those things where it's like you're so happy to see it happening, but you're also like, where was this when but like still mostly the happy part. But
yeah.
I should have known when I was also 11. After I was probably ditching the hot Mikado to do this.
Hot Mikado, I love it.
I was trying to start. I tried to start like a newspaper, like my own little like broadsheet that would have been about like TSA,
Wow.
And I think exactly one issue came out. So
Yeah. But you were like, it was the TSA gossip before Instagram came out, basically, right?
Exactly. So I was really thriving.
I love that.
Yeah,
that
I
for
love
you.
it though. Put
Put it on a resume. One issue is worth it.
Who's the little girl's play that did the Edwina or whatever? Dear Edwina, is that
yeah.
what it writes?
Yeah.
She's a journalist, isn't that what it is?
It's been a while since I've seen that show, but I think you're right.
Nobody knows.
No,
Is it?
I saw it. 'Cause
They made a movie
CTW
too
just
with
did
another
it,
one.
like,
They
a couple years
did
ago.
a big movie where she was a journalist too, coming up and doing researches and everything. Anyways, it's cute. That was you.
Yes,
you.
that was me.
If I could ever remember what it's called, that's you.
My frame of reference would be Kit Kitteridge from the American Girls.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's what it was.
Yeah.
They made the
It's
Kit
literally
Kitteridge
Kit
movie.
Kitteridge.
Yeah, they made the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. See,
Yes.
American Girl. See,
I was big in American Girl. I bet you I would, like literally had read one of those books and I was like, this is me now.
This is it.
But fast forward past Cedar Point. I'm at Cedar Point and I'm driving an hour and it sucks. And
Hour every day. Yeah.
Each
You
way.
want to live in Huron? You
No.
want to live in Sandusky?
I think they're great places. I'm just from Toledo, and the idea of moving so close to home, but like not being home, was just like frustrating. And I actually liked what I was doing, sort of, but then it just, job. So I applied to the Blade. I got a version of the job, and then eventually I got the job I originally applied for, which is a features reporter. But part of the reason when they hired me as a copy editor, I had been doing I started doing video game journalism in 2018.
Oh, wow. You've had a whole couple lives now.
There's
I love
more
this.
lore.
Yeah,
That's theater.
I love it. You seriously lived like 7 lives already. Well, first I did video games, and then I lived in Louisiana, and then I worked for Cedar Point, and then I was like, oh my gosh, you're fascinating.
I guess I try. I don't know. Not really. But that was how I was pitching myself to the Blade. Like, look, I don't have traditional news journalism experience, but I have been doing video game journalism, and I had covered PAX West. I had gone to Seattle one year and like done with a press badge as part of the outlet I was with, and so like I had actual like day and news experience. So
What is PAX West?
it is a video game convention. It's one of the larger video game conventions. So
Gotcha.
E3 was the largest one, and then it imploded.
I've heard of all these. E3 I've heard of. Yeah, it imploded. I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh, it's really that year. If I had tried a little harder, I could have gotten them to send me to E3, but I had just gone to PAX, and then that was kind of the last year E3 like was still like what it was. It was a press only event.
Big giant video game conferences, basically.
Yes, and
there's no money in video games at all,
oh, definitely not video games.
Certainly not more than theater.
or podcasts.
Yeah. But I interviewed like the guy I can't think of his name now, the French Canadian man who was at the time helming the new Tomb Raider game was probably like
Mikado, was that his name?
yeah, Mr.
Was he
Mikado.
hot?
Yeah.
Look at this. You're on a roll here.
I would have to think about it. But then, so I have a video game column also. I still continue to have it, and I've had it since like the day I started at the Blade.
Oh, cool.
Of course you do. Yes.
Of course, obviously. The
And so
has-
the Blade now has a video game column also?
I'm the second. I mean, I did not originate their video game column.
Oh.
A thing I think is like absolutely crazy. They had a video game journalist before me.
Nice.
When he left, it went dormant, and then they picked it back up when I came. And then I showed them through. I did a bunch of freelance work for them. And when a features position came open, I moved into that role. And then that's, something they were interested in. Our assistant managing editor, Mike Pearson, used to be a theater critic. He worked for the Rocky Mountain News. And I'm hoping I'm not getting his bio wrong. He was a professor of journalism.
You're going to get a message later.
That's
all
all
of that
good.
was
It's
wrong.
all
Yeah.
good.
He's going to float by my desk and just go like,
He's done some stuff. That's all you got to
yes.
know, right? He's
And
done
he
some
cares.
stuff.
He likes theater a lot. He has,
Oh, good.
And I do.
What's his name again?
Mike Pearson.
Mike Pearson. We like Mike Pearson. Yay,
You
Mike.
like Mike?
Thanks, Mike.
We like that you like Mikey likes it. We like it.
Yes.
That's good.
And before the features editor, it's complicated, but he could. The features editor, that role is allowed to do. Is allowed to write. So when he was in that role, he actually did reviews as well. And then when he moved up, he couldn't anymore. But we hadn't had, since Jeff Schmucker left,
Yeah.
we hadn't had a dedicated theater reporter. And Schmucker wasn't a dedicated theater reporter. It was something he did on the side.
Right. We had him on like when we first started, 3 years ago, he came on, and he's also a TSA dad, by the way.
Yes.
So that's crazy. But he talked about how when he did it, it was the same deal. He did it where he was, he'd done theater reviews where he used to work before, and he came into the Blade, and he was like, I can do that too. I like theater. But you're right. It wasn't his main gig.
Yes. And
So-
it is part of mine. Like the two things, I have things, I get assigned stories or I pitch stories that go on top of my like weekly things that I do. And the number one thing I do is the theater column, and then followed by Game On, which is the video game column that's every other week.
Wait, does the theater column have a cool name like Curtains Up?
Theater curtains up though? I mean, I like
You can
that.
steal it. Go ahead and steal it. It's fine. No, they
It
get a cool
does
Game
now.
On one. Curtains Up would
I
be
think
a great.
Stage Door is a cool name.
Yeah, I like it called Stage Door.
Yeah.
Well, it's part of the Weekender, and they all have just inserts that say like music, sounds, theater. So
And there's enough theater in Toledo to write about.
Oh my gosh! Come on, we have a
so,
podcast
yes.
every week. All right, now we're gonna come back to Nicole here. So you go off and you're doing these things. So yeah, we gotta let Lillian have her drink of her margarita.
right.
With sriracha.
Yes. That's, sorry. What is that stuff on the
Tahini.
tahini? Yeah. Call it sriracha. It's spicy. That's all I know. So you're in Cleveland area. You're doing your stuff, and then you go off and you say, "I'm going to do this for the rest of my life."
we left. You skipped. We left off in high school.
There's so much happening. So I go to BGSU for acting and directing,
Acting and directing.
and I graduate from there. And
well, that was quick. Nothing happened in BGU.
4 years
BGSU,
of
was eventful. I mean,
I performed, I wrote, I
You don't have to answer
started
this. You can move on.
I started the all-female a cappella group there because I saw
Wow.
Pitch
what's it
Perfect and said
called?
I can do
You
that.
said
Do that.
You're the menstrual tones there. Is that what you were?
Close, acoustic.
Oh my.
Acoustics.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I did some stuff while I was there, had some fun.
Did some stuff.
Did some stuff.
Who did
It's
we know
fine.
there? We knew Chad Campbell went there.
Yeah, we knew
Who
lots of
else?
famous people from there, but you're there.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing in that program?
I was acting and directing mostly. I was still continuing to do community theater.
Okay.
Because back when I was an undergrad, it was hard to get into the shows there if
Okay.
you were not a musical theater major.
Oh, you weren't a musical theater
I
major?
was not a musical theater major. I was an acting and directing major, which was different.
Thank you.
Now,
but did
however,
they open it up to people?
oh yeah, it was open to everybody. And it was very unspoken. It wasn't like, hey, you can't. It was just more of like, oh, I have more of the classes with them, so I know them better. I know they can take my direction, kind of thing. And that's just how it was. Like if you're a director, you want to cast somebody you can trust, which is totally valid.
That's how it was. You're saying.
That's how it was.
when
That's
you
how
were
it
there.
was. Since I left, they have allowed students to dual major. So there are musical theater majors who are also acting and directing, and because of that, it has bridged that divide a little bit, which I think is wonderful.
Cool. We'll have to have them on and talk about what's going on there. Haven't had Bowling Green on yet.
So, I'm really happy that is the way that has been moving. In fact, I was so happy about it that after, I'm skipping years again. I moved immediately after undergrad. I got a job in Minnesota working as a touring actress. So I went out there to Climb Theater and worked there for 2 years.
What?
Touring all over.
Wait. You went to Climb Theater.
Climb Theater in Minnesota.
Oh,
yeah.
it's the name of the place.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, see, you
So-
said it like it was a
know.
verb. You went to Climb Theater. I'm like,
Yeah.
What do you- I don't even know what
to
that
the very
means.
top of it. I've
yeah,
done
I
it.
that's
didn't
it.
understand.
No, it's stands for Creative Learning Ideas for Mind and Body.
Oh.
And so their whole thing was using theater to talk about like social emotional topics and like environmental topics as well. So like we were performing shows for people all over the Midwest, or that area of the Midwest, I should say.
Yeah, that is the Midwest still, yeah.
Yeah. And it was really fun. It was great. It was 2 years. I loved it. I was in a hotel room more than I was in my own house, which drained me a little bit. So I was ready to not be on tour again.
I get that. Yeah, we do hear that a lot for people on tour, where sometimes they only get to play in a house for one night, even. So or maybe even just a few nights, so they don't even bother taking their clothes out of their luggage and just move on.
Yeah, and it was really hard too, because as much as I loved what I was doing, I couldn't do outside shows because I wasn't in. Green. Well, no, in Minnesota.
Oh, in Minnesota, gotcha.
I couldn't do any community theater because I was out of town 3 out of the 5 nights a week, when they're doing rehearsals. So I couldn't do any big musicals or well-known shows or things like that, which was a bummer.
And when you were in Bowling Green, it was the same kind of situation. Is that why you went out? You said to do some community theater, or was it still hard?
I think that was just the nature of wanting to do shows and not getting into the department shows.
Yeah.
So that was why I
still hard though, because you're a full-time student.
For sure.
Trying to do your own things and go to uptown downtown on Thursdays. You can't
Yeah, you gotta make it to 80s night. 80s night karaoke at Grumpy Dave's.
I was thinking Dollar Well night, but sure, yeah.
We are not the same person. But yeah, and yeah, that was kind of
right. I did not major in singing and dancing and acting. That's for sure. I'm like, can I sit at the bar and have some drinks? And you're like, I'm going to where I can sing.
I'm performing karaoke, by the way, like not singing. I'm performing.
Tonight is the night I'm going to go sing in front of everybody. This is I'm a star.
I treated Grumpy Dave's karaoke as like a show night. I was like, I'm going there. I'm picking my songs. I'm warming up.
Yeah, let's do this thing. You're over there going, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
Yeah. Well, when you're a theater kid, like starving for performance.
All these theater kids just sing anyway whenever they can.
Yeah,
They find a piano, like, hey, there's a piano in the lobby. Did you see this piano in the lobby? Let's do this thing, guys. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, you guys are weirdos.
Yeah, we are, 100%. Proudly wear that.
Yeah.
And then after Minnesota, I was like, what do I want to do next? I don't want to tour anymore. So I applied to BGSU again for their master's program for theater. Got a full ride, which was awesome.
Oh, it is awesome.
And so came back to BG to get my master's in theater.
Okay.
And graduated during a pandemic. So that was fun. Of
course.
That's when I was in grad school too.
Yeah. So right when you graduate, you're like done and you can't do anything because now it's a pandemic.
Oh, it was awful. It was so bad. So quick tangent. I won't spend forever on this because it'll make me sad. Part of my portfolio project for my master's program, in order to, get my degree, was I'd been working on it the entire program, was I was going to write a musical and then record a concept album with a full cast. I had a full cast audition. I had 4 sessions in the recording studio. And then the world shut down.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I had to get my degree, so I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't get any of the sessions that we had because they weren't even allowed in the building.
Right.
So my husband and I recorded all of the voices and everything from my little living room and turned it in to get my degree. Oh, and it breaks my heart because like I could have had a cast album, and I was close.
But then you had to end up voicing everything.
Every single one. So I sounded ridiculous.
That's what they do, though, for like real musicals in a way also. Is they have the person who writes it, and it's like they have a couple people sing all the songs.
That's true. Well,
and then they present it to the actual Broadway people to sing it, and it's like
I listened to Lin-Manuel Miranda's like demos of Moana, and I don't feel so bad about mine anymore. And if he could do it, so can I.
I saw him do a little performance for Washington, D.C., like big people. He's like, I got this musical. It's about the presidents, and this is what it is, and it's rap. And he started doing it, and they started laughing at him at this thing. And I was like,
if only they knew.
You effers didn't have a clue.
No. They were witnessing history.
They did not know
about
what
history.
They were seeing, and they just thought, this is funny. And it's like, okay. All right, now let's talk about what you guys do now, please.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about when you go to the shows. And you guys,
do you go to?
Yeah, you go to the shows, obviously, because I see the reviews and I see the stuff on there. Like, There's a million shows in the area, first of all. Is there a pattern at all to any reason as to which shows you go to?
Mine is, what can I afford?
Okay, that's a good reason.
Because I'm doing all of that from, this is not my job. This is just for fun for me.
Well, let's get you some free tickets out there, people. Come on, we got somebody who's willing to write all about these good reviews. Let's get her at least some access to these shows.
Thank you. I did end up ushering for a couple shows, so I could get that free ticket for those. Because if you volunteer to usher, you can normally see the show for free that night.
Right. If you volunteer to write an entire article about them, should you get a ticket for the show, maybe?
Listen, I'm not going to say it out loud.
I am saying it out loud. I think both you two should be getting access to these shows.
Yeah.
Preferably ahead of time so you can also help promote what the show's coming up.
That's true. I was very fortunate. Not the last one I saw, but the one before that, I was invited to the dress rehearsal for free.
Which one was that one?
The Woman in Black at Village Players.
Oh, I love the Village Players already. See?
Yeah.
They're my heroes already.
I was invited there to take production photos, actually. But so while I was taking production photos, I also watched it to then write about it. Right. Double duty.
Yeah, I saw that show as well. I didn't review it. I previewed it, and the preview really, a lot of times the preview will convince me, and then something weekend wise just doesn't work out. Yeah. But I was like, actually, I do have Halloween. It was right before the Halloween show, and they were like, I don't know, it's going to be really spooky. And then I got to watch my boyfriend scream during the jump scare. So, I love that. It was great. So
you got to preview it. So previewing it is what is beforehand, obviously.
Yeah, so that's like, I would say the majority of my theater column is preview. So it's me reaching out ahead of time and saying, tell me what the show's going to be like. Mm-hmm. And the reason, the way that it works, previews versus reviews, is there's a couple things into play. One, because of my theater column comes out on Thursdays in the Weekender, in the insert.
Yeah. Is it in the Peach?
No, well, Peach is in the Weekender.
Yeah. It's in the Weekender. Yeah, Peach, we're not going to go over this again. I'm just asking.
I didn't clarify this earlier. Peach Plus and Peach are like inside the Weekender on Thursdays.
Okay.
On
so the Weekender comes out on a Thursday?
The Weekender comes out on Thursdays.
That's not confusing at all.
But it's the two print days, Thursday and Sunday. One's the Sunday paper, and the other one, Thursday, has the Weekender, which is part of the reason why.
And it's talking about what's coming up for the weekend.
Yes.
That's why it's previewing it. Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah, that's why it's previewing it. Or it's a review from the first week of a show before the second week.
That happens a lot, too. Yeah, that's a good point. So if you're able to get to the show knowing that the Village has it a couple weekends, you can at least get them at least one weekend.
So our policy right now is that I just don't review any shows that are only here for 3 days, which narrows it down considerably. I mean, a lot of community theater in this area just only have the resources, understandably so, to do a 3-day run. But that would require me to go. I mean, even then, if I went the day of and for opening night and then wrote the review that night, it wouldn't still be able to make it into the next day's paper. It would only make it in for the final day's paper. Right. I mean, there's just not. It's
going to go on Sunday, and there's no point at that point in time. Then, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and few people are going to be like, off we go. But
no, exactly. That's why we do our podcast. We try to, and I tell them, people who want to come on and promote the show, and I'm more than happy. That's part of what we want to do is help promote theater in the area. We're going to record you at least a month ahead of time, so that you have time to put it out there and tell people about the show so that people can make plans. Because who the heck is making plans on Thursday? Who's sitting around on Thursday going, let's go to a show tonight?
Mm-hmm. Some
too
readers,
late. I guess some people, but not me.
But a Thursday for something that's happening on Sunday, I mean, that works out a little bit better, Mm-hmm. Thursday for Friday even works out better, but... So that helps. And it also means that I'm not like usually crunching for these reviews because I see them over the weekend. I have the early part of the week to write the reviews. Mm-hmm. So, which is which will change because I believe we're going to start reviewing touring Broadway productions. Unless, asterisk, subject to editor changing at any moment. Mm-hmm. But the plan is that when, what is the first one? Is it Beetlejuice?
Next one coming is Chicago.
When Chicago comes, the plan is to review Chicago, and that is going to need to be like that night.
Right, because that's the way they are. They're not in town.
They're not in town, but they are in town for like 5 days. So it does make it like it's not useless to write that review, get it out in the paper.
But I mean, the performers aren't in town to be the interview, to be talk to.
Yes,
That
yeah.
makes it more difficult for you because literally the day before they're in another city.
Exactly.
So they're not here to be able to be talked to and to have all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool though. So you do a lot of previews of these shows,
Yes.
and you go to them and say, let's see what it is then.
Yes, and I usually
And then you drag your boyfriend with you.
I don't have to drag him. He likes theater.
Oh, good.
He's theatrical. That's not a metaphor for anything. Just that when it comes to picking, also what I review, a lot of it's like logistics. It's my weekend. It's up to me when I review a show. If I have plans, sometimes it just can't happen.
Yeah.
I also try to rotate between the three big community theaters in this area: Black Swamp, Village Players, and Toledo Rep.
And now everybody's mad. Thank you for that.
And
Oregon and Waterville and 3B and there's a ton of them. They're all mad at you now.
I say big in that those are the ones that do consistently 2 weekend shows. So
That
okay.
makes sense.
yes, so big is a quantifier truly in length of
So
show
it was
time.
Waterville, it was Village, the Rep, and who's in Black. You know
Black
what that?
Swamp.
You know who they are actually? They are people who have their own theaters.
Yes,
That's what that means. That's why they have multiple weekends.
Yes.
So when you're talking about somebody like 3B in Waterville and Perrysburg Community Theater and all the other also very big theaters, they don't have a building, so they have one weekend.
Yes.
And those three have smaller house sizes, and so they can fit a lot more people in some of those
Yes.
bigger houses for one
Yes.
weekend.
Right. So so you're looking at the Rep who has a much smaller house, like you said. They can have multiple shows and do it, but yeah, if you're having it at the Maumee Indoor, which seats like 700 people, they rack them all in.
Yeah,
at
but
once.
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't
big-
need 2 weekends. They just do it once. So.
Yeah, well, definitely not bigger in terms of quality or anything like that.
No.
but-
We're not saying anybody's any better. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would love to do the Ritz, for example, but they're too far away. I mean, so
Ritz is beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like I went for something. Maybe that was a dream. I don't know.
It's a
But
fevered Ritz dream.
like,
You had
literally,
ball
was it
rights
a
chips,
dream?
and you were like, oh.
yeah, but I would love to go. But part of the issue is it's travel time, also is company time. Although they will. Croswell Croswell is also large enough and close enough that I covered them both from previews and reviews.
Gets enough respect to be. Yeah, they're kind of a bigger deal. Yeah, they
Yeah.
do some great stuff. And
They
then
do
so
some great
you're
stuff.
how do you pick? Which like you said, time also probably.
Yeah, and because I'm just a one woman operation over here,
Yeah.
and so and truly just started.
Yes.
I think I only have like 8 reviews out right now, which is not that many, but if I
No,
make your show and I'll write more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give her free tickets. There might be another one popping up.
And so it really is just kind of like what is going to fit into my schedule, what can I afford that week, and do they have ushering opportunities? Because that'll be a big thing for me is if I can get in for free.
Yeah.
Then I'll go to as many as I possibly can. But if I have to choose between two $20 tickets,
Right, and part of this
That's
podcast
tough.
having you on maybe is also exposure for some of the people out there because we have like over a dozen theater companies in the area.
30.
Yeah, it's like, but they
And
don't
they're
maybe
all
not-
big.
Yeah, they're all huge. They're the hugest. They're all huge.
Yeah.
So if they don't know about you guys as much, then I think a lot of times the theater companies and the theater directors, theater producers. They're just busy and
Yeah.
they're doing their own thing
yeah,
and they
for
live in
sure.
their own little bubble world and they don't think sometimes about the nice publicity that their theater company could receive
Yeah.
by having Lillian from the Blade come in and talk to them and give them and having Nicole from Tuttle. What do you call it?
Tuttle Theater Talk.
Thank you.
Tri-T.
Total Theater
For short.
from Tri-T to come in and talk about like this is what the show is and what we're doing.
Yeah.
All of these things, or getting a hold of us, even Ron. Right? Like we've been fortunate enough to have enough reach out to us, but at the same time, it's like use the resources out there, guys.
For
We
sure.
have people out here who love theater and are more than happy to write about it. So, what's the worst show that you've seen?
Read my reviews and decide for yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Have you gone to some clunkers and had to write about them, or
Yeah.
or did you say nice things.
Yeah.
That is the hardest thing
Yes.
with community theater, and this is something I was thinking about before coming here because
Yeah.
I think it's one of the people are probably the most curious about is how do you review community
Yes.
theater.
Right.
I've read a lot of. I try to read like criticism about it and other people's work, and there are two frames of mind. There's one, these people are not being paid to be in community theater; they're doing it because they love it.
That's
and
right.
Yes.
We're not
Yes.
getting paid.
Yeah.
We're doing this podcast for free.
Because
if
you
you
love
want to
it.
write a review about us, you're more welcome.
But the idea is, I don't ever want to be the reason that somebody doesn't ever, never acts again.
Yeah.
That's not the place for
You don't want to
reviews.
be their hot Mikado.
I don't want to be their hot Mikado. I don't even remember auditioning. Like, how did?
It was required. Mrs. Best, Rosie made you do it. You don't have a choice.
I kind of wonder if it was Deb Calabrese.
Oh, she was there too, huh? Okay.
That was the era when she was doing a lot of TSA shows at that time, and I didn't know that when I spoke with her. It's been months now,
Yeah.
but she was one of the first people I interviewed because one of the first stories I did was about Christmas Carol last year. So, but anyway, I never want to be the reason somebody stops acting, and
You don't want to pull the review out like it's Prom the Musical, and they're like,
I don't.
They totally killed us on the reviews. Eleanor Roosevelt.
These are not paid actors, and they're just doing it because they love it, and you don't want to bash them.
Exactly. But I've also read a piece that the last review I did, I was having kind of a crisis about because I've been fortunate enough that all the shows I've gone to have been really good.
Yeah.
And the last show I went to, I did not feel that way.
Because of the show? Like, was it the show?
Book. It was the show. The actors were great. And that was my saving grace.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was able to be very honest and be like, I do not like...
Yeah, sometimes the show's not good.
I wanted to be very clear before I share this anecdote. I'm talking about the show where I came with a friend and I looked over at my friend and I just said, literally, intermission lights went up and I just went, I hate this.
Yeah.
And she went, I knew you would. And it was a subject matter she loved and she didn't like it either.
Yeah.
But, some of the acting was just so incredible that it was great.
Happens, but like I saw once when it came to the Stranahan, hated it. Could not stand that musical. I was like, what? This person is so unlikable. This is the lead. I want him to have a miserable life. I want him to just
which
go
show?
away once. Once.
Yep.
And the whole show is just depressed dude singing because we're supposed to like him. I don't know why we're supposed to like him. I really don't know. All I know
You
is
said
it was
once,
that-
I heard Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh, how dare
Say it
you.
louder. Say it louder.
I'm
with you.
No,
Oh,
you're
I
both
am?
wrong. You're both wrong.
Get out.
See,
Get out.
Those,
Get out.
that's like, what are their names? The songwriting duo.
Passing and Paul.
They are poison to me. They are my personal kryptonite.
Kryptonite,
Like
Gosh, it's such a beautiful musical. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're
And
wrong.
yet-
Greatest Showman.
What? Oh my! Seriously, get the hell out of here.
I can't join you on that one. I'm sorry.
But see-
And La La
but
Land.
there-
I mean,
but the
0
point
for 3.
is-
I don't like La La Land.
See, the point
I mean,
on
we're
all these
mostly
things
there.
with theater, though, is it's so subjective
Yeah.
as to what you like and what
Yeah.
is good and why things.
Is
are
it just because
popular,
Hugh
what-
Jackman looks happy in The Greatest Showman? I mean, he's having a great time.
It might be Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, he's
It
just
might be.
having a good
Well, what
time.
do you think of Hamilton?
I mean, I love Hamilton.
See, I don't. See, there you go. See?
Yeah, I actually had a whole class in my master's program dedicated to talking about the harm that Hamilton did to certain
just think
communities.
Hamilton's just a history
and so
class. That's why I don't really care
I have
for it.
changed some of my tone on at least like what is written about it, but
Yeah, but again,
Yeah,
this is what I
it's
tell
subjective.
the non-theater people that I know, and there are a boatload of non-theater people that I know because I'm a sportsy guy, and a lot of my sportsy guys are like, what? So I'm like, look, it's just like movies. There's a ton of kinds and different kinds. You don't have to like all of them, but I guarantee you're going to like a lot of them if you just give it a chance and you just are open to the idea. But to sit there and say you don't like it as a blank line is weird to me.
To say I don't like musical theater, but then like Cinderella and the new Warriors concept album exist under the same umbrella of musical theater, like that is incorrect.
What the heck does that mean? I don't even. The Cinderella Warriors album. What's that? I don't know what that means.
Okay, hold on. 30-second tangent.
Yeah.
Warriors is a 1979 film.
We know Warriors.
Yeah,
the gang.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Lin-Manuel Miranda and Issa
She has
Davis
to tell us what Warriors is, Ron. Jeez, we're old efforts. Did you not know that? We know. Hey, come out and play. We know what Warriors are. Okay.
Good. Well, then you would love the concept album written by Lin-Manuel Miranda and Issa Davis.
Okay, so he made a musical based off of Warriors, but where's the Cinderella part?
No. I'm saying like with Cinderella and
Like
Warriors
the
both
two sides
existing
of
at
the
the same
same-
time
Yeah.
under the umbrella of musical theater, and somebody saying I don't like musical theater, they haven't
you.
looked
I mean,
hard
what's the
enough.
Andrew Lloyd Webber train musical?
Oh, Ron!
Starlight Express.
Starlight Express.
Ron wants
I
somebody
want
to
to
do
see
that
it.
on roller
I want to
skates.
see it in Toledo. Yes.
Yeah.
Someone do
We've
it.
got to make it happen. I mean,
Right. No, that's what I
You
always
hear
try
that?
and say. I'm
Theater
like,
companies?
I'm like,
I can
Sweeney
on a roller
Todd
skate.
is about a guy slicing throats and making people into meat pies,
Yeah.
and you have Avenue Q with about Muppets having sex, and you have then you have Sound of Music, and you have Little Mermaid,
There
and you
is
have all these
something
things
for everyone.
It's like
Yeah.
dude,
Musical
you
theater.
can't do this blank statement of I hate all fruit. What? You hate strawberries and apples and grapes and every fruit out there? Just 'cause, that's weird, So you have to at least be open minded.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I will say, like you said, you didn't hate the show. You hated the.
I hated the show.
Oh, you hated the show.
Yes, but I thought the performances were great, and I read a piece about how actually, being honest in community theater reviews, it's like what are we doing here? Otherwise, why aren't we just previewing?
Yeah.
Because what the point is, if we're just here to be, an endless hype cycle, what we're doing isn't reviewing. So.
Good point.
And it was a very respectful piece. It was definitely not like so tear them apart, but it was like, saying like if people are looking for feedback, if they give you that comp ticket to go see the show, because the shows that I do usually. The shows that I review usually do.
Right in front of Nicole. Nice.
I know. I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
It's okay. You're just getting going here.
I'm over there ushering you to your seat with your comp
You
ticket.
will be there, Nicole. You will get there too.
It's totally fine. I'm
You
not
will-
begging for it. I
you
love
will
theater.
Hey man, she was writing.
I like supporting theater.
She was writing about video games, so now she's
And I get it. Here's my side tangent. If a video game developer says to me, "We've run out of codes to give you," I think, "No, you haven't. They are fake. You press a button that creates a bunch of numbers, and then you give them to me. Just say you just don't want me to review the game."
Yeah.
And that's fine. Square Enix said that to me once, and I still don't know why. They've only ever said yes otherwise. But one game they were just like, "We don't want to give it to you."
We
I was
didn't
like,
want you to
okay.
didn't want you to get a sneak peek, obviously, or something, right? Yeah.
Octopath Traveler 2. I'm not afraid to say it.
Yeah. heck,
Call them out.
yeah.
But anything
Ron,
else-
Don't buy that game, Ron. I know you were thinking about it.
Well, I don't know if it's good or not.
Yeah.
I never reviewed it. I don't know
probably
if it's
not.
good.
about
I hear it's
octopus,
great.
that's all I
So you
know.
have to walk a tightrope of being a critic and a fan, or a pumper upper, or a
Yes, yeah,
help
it's,
sell tickets.
yeah. I want to promote local theater, but I also want to be honest. I'm half the time I'm 3/4 of the time I'm previewing or doing other theater stories. A quarter of the time I'm reviewing. So, and that's even less frequent than I would like, because sometimes just scheduling things just don't work out. So, I haven't been able to review the Village Players as much as I'd like. They're one show behind all the other theaters that I have in the rotation, just simply because of just dates haven't worked out. Just repeatedly dates haven't worked out. And I do have, I'm constantly like, I promise. You're up next. You're up next in my rotation. And also half these, the theaters in this area just love to schedule all their shows the same 2 weekends.
Yeah, 100%. We know that.
Yep.
I'm very fortunate in what I'm doing, since I am not being paid to do this. And as for mentioned, in fact, I am paying to do this a lot of the time, is that I get to come at it from that kind of perspective. And also, like, my reviews are not necessarily made to convince other people to go see the show, but rather to compliment the people that have done the work on the show.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I'm going with it. Like, I mean, if what I say about how the technical elements, like, wowed me, convinced somebody to go see a show, that's great. But what I'm trying to do is, like, come from a theater background and come from, like, that acting, directing, and, that master's in theater background, and talking about performance studies in a way that is less commercial.
Yeah.
And so I really like that. I'm very fortunate in that, and I get to talk about it.
You get to pick the shows more yourself then too, because
for sure.
You're doing more reviews than previews. It sounds like.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna do any previews until they pay me to do. So, because that's not what I'm in it for. I'm in for it to talk about
what you saw,
what I saw, and
and
how it made me feel.
You're going to a live performance and saying, "Hey," and so your job is to say this performer. Is that what you're thinking? You're thinking I want to pump up the performers more than the show.
Well, and maybe not even pump up, but to compliment the work that they've done,
Okay.
and to commend them on what I enjoyed. And so, like, kind of going back a little bit, I have seen some that I haven't enjoyed.
Let's name names. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
let me.
No,
here's
no.
a detailed list. But no, it. And again, very similarly, it was a lot of my struggle was with the book rather than the actors and the performances themselves. But what I get to do, because I am an independent reviewer, is I get to like talk about that a little bit easier. I think because I am my editor and I am my publisher, so the only people that need to say yes is
and
me.
you're also an internet blog. So yours, you can go to the show and then have it published in that night.
Oh yeah, and
as opposed to Lillian, you have to wait for the actual.
Yes, it goes, and my copy doesn't receive a lot of editing. It doesn't see major edits. So that's
Neither does Nicole's.
Yeah.
Which it's
yeah, if we're bragging.
Mine's perfect the first time.
My editor says they love me.
But it usually it's an internal struggle. It's not like somebody's going to come down and be. I mean, unless I said something really egregious, nobody's going to be like, you're being too easy or you're being too mean. Actually, except Mike Pearson maybe, because he's a real homie, a real OG theater critic. But
He's like, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're also doing a lot more previews. It sounds like I said.
Yes.
So you are trying to say this show is going to be happening. Make sure you go see it. So
Yes.
You're probably seeing a lot of shows also that you haven't seen.
Yes, I'm seeing.
Like brand new plays and brand
Yes.
new plays and stuff that aren't as common.
Oh yes, I do have I would say I have a pretty good, and I'm sure you do too. I mean, you're seeing everything that's going on, but I do feel like I have a pretty good. I just knowing I was coming here inspired me to redo my theater theater calendar, which was woefully outdated. And it's so, I mean, like this next couple of weeks, UT and VG are both doing Silent Sky.
Silent Sky.
Which is, how does that happen?
Insane that both of them are doing it. I know.
They drive to the other place and TP each other's theaters.
I think
what are they doing? Yeah.
I've got kind of like a special Mike Pearson suggested column in mind for that, because I think it's kind of an unusual, because I also try to push myself to not let myself get too much into the rhythm of previewing, because you do kind of ask the same 5 or 6 questions, and of course people have different answers, but sometimes I'm interviewing literally the same. I mean, I don't know how many times I've talked to Ryan Albrecht, you know?
Yeah. And you
And
also
he's
have,
great. He's
unfortunately,
great.
when you're doing preview and you have the whole section, it has to be like, this is what the show is. This is the plot of the show. This
Yes.
is when the date is. This is where you can buy tickets.
The
This
if
is
you go, there's a little box in the corner that says if you go, what, when, where, admission, website.
Yeah, so that's already going to eat up a bunch of your column just because.
Yep.
And like that's another difference with mine is like I don't talk to anybody. You know, like I'm not interviewing anybody. I'm not getting those quotes.
You're kind of like the chef's, what is it, the restaurant review who you just showed up, nobody knew.
They're honestly when
Ratatouille.
when I was first starting, like people, I mean, still now, I think a couple people now are recognizing my face, but like
Who is this Tuttle?
Exactly, they're like, who is this? And they're like
How
looking
dare
on the
she
audience,
say I
like
sounded flat.
and so I think people are kind of remembering because again, like
Did you get pictures of her, Ron?
back to the area now, but
We have some pictures of them so that we have a face
Yeah,
to go
I
with
did
it.
get
Okay, good.
I feel that though, because I bring a notebook, and it's the rep's lights are maybe not low enough or something, because I felt like so conspicuous, just being like, you know,
She did a little rap pose. I'm like,
you're like,
I'm over here,
clearly I'm
right now I'm making a comment about that voice.
what? See, now I'm thinking
as
of a
soon as somebody squeaks and you just
or I'm like, if there was like mic issues at a show I went to recently, and here I am writing it down, you know, and I just saw what was I looking at? I just saw a Roger Ebert quote that was, I was watching Christian Borle did a YouTube video about his career, and he said, and someone in the comments said had a quote about Roger Ebert making fun of another critic because he said, so and so, really shouldn't be making fun of the way actors look. They can't help it, and he can't help looking like a rat.
So, are you feared and hated?
No.
No.
I think like my biggest thing is when there's something that I don't like, I try to do it in a constructive type of way, and I think that's the directing history I have, because like when you're a director, you can't just say, oh, everything's fine, and then move on when things aren't fine. You got to find a constructive way to move the production into a better
How
spot.
do you do that? How do you get these? I mean, if you're writing a review and you see something, you're like, I feel like they just kind of walk through the paces on that. Do you just not say something?
I'm a big fan of what I call and what I've learned to be called the compliment sandwich, which is exactly what it sounds like.
Okay.
It's give a good thing, give that criticism, and then finish with a good thing. And so oftentimes I'll be like, I loved this about this performance. I wish this was different, but this is why I enjoyed this.
Interesting.
And so it's like you're getting that good part while still being truthful to what you saw. And so I actually had one recently, a show that I just wrote about that I had to kind of develop a compliment sandwich about something that I was like, this I feel like is something I should include in my review. And how am I going to do it? And I crafted a compliment
you guys
sandwich.
are super important though right now in that regard because if nobody calls people out, these companies out on some of maybe, I don't know, cost cutting measures or whatever it is that they didn't do certain things, you're like, I guess nobody noticed that we did that. And so we'll just keep going because when the show ends and they all go out in the lobby and everybody's like, oh my God, you were the best, you were the best, you were the best, the best director, the best producer.
I run away when that's happening.
Yeah.
I'm always like a shadow out the door.
But that's all they're going to hear.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
all they're going to hear is how great everything was. And they may look at that and go, oh, well, I guess I'm great.
Yeah, we don't need to not cut those costs.
No.
Yeah,
Right, well,
we'll just keep going as skimpy as possible
Yeah.
on everything, and
Let me be very clear that when I do a show, I demand all of you to come up to me and tell me that I was the best.
Oh, of course. I think that is absolutely very
Thank you.
important.
that's
like,
fine.
just wanna make sure
in
that-
person we'll do that. Then we'll write an article.
There you go.
about
Because
you.
we
with a sandwich involved.
we can't rip on people because they're sitting 10 feet away from us, and we'll get
right.
if there's ever a production of Hot Mikado, I'll make sure to be in it. In the choir.
Like, oh, this is what I missed. I missed
and
much.
I'll write about it.
Yes, thank you. And you'll be like
and you'll,
that.
you'll usher it too.
Yeah, that alto. She was really.
I'll
I
usher
will.
it. You actually will get take my free ticket, and we'll all get in together.
Yes.
To see the Hot Mikado, which I still don't know what the heck that even is.
Well, here's the thing: is I knew it existed when I was 11 because I really liked this book book series called the Cat Who novels, which I once said to someone, a friend of mine, another 11-year-old, who said my grandma reads those.
Oh no!
And it's because the main character had two cats named Coco and Yum Yum, which are the main characters in Hot Mikado. So it's a real thing.
So the cat Mahudo, what is it called?
Hot Mikado,
Right? What's the cat thing called?
Coco and Yum Yum.
No, you said the cat something. I thought you said
The Cat Who books.
the Cat Who books was the Cat Mikado. Basically, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right, I'm
100%
editing all this
accuracy.
out.
We're in.
She's
We're
just-
in.
Yes.
she's
We're
just
that's it.
humoring you. She said,
No,
maybe he'll go away.
We're cutting all this. This is all cut.
Okay.
Cut this.
Well-
I want to hear about how you were so mean to everybody, though. You're talking about like specific reviews and how you were like this show, like not so much. Do you guys do high school shows at all?
No.
I haven't yet. I actually I'm doing a youth theater show this weekend.
Okay.
So
Which show's that?
She Kills Monster. Yeah.
Horizon
Yeah,
Youth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I actually just performed in earlier this year in the older, like the adult version of it.
I reached out to David DuPont with the Perrysburg or the BG, and he's there
Independent.
right now. That's where
Nice.
he's at right now. So he was unable to come, unfortunately. I was trying to get as many people that love theater, that write about theater, and talk about theater as possible here.
Yeah, David DuPont has written my name in many a review.
And I gave him out. Sadly, I was like, I should get David on here. And I was like, I already have a date. Can you do this? And he was like, no. And I was like, sorry, man. I suck at my job.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at doing this either. So.
Yeah.
Again, I do it for free.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
review me.
Well, how do I get to see your blog or your? How do I get to the Blade these days?
ToledoBlade.com.
There you
They also, I mean, it has a paywall, so
Yeah.
the bane of my existence, but it does have a paywall. But Thursday
That's how
mornings,
you get paid, though, too.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah,
You
of
get
course.
paid because of that. It's like I complain about the ads. That's what pays my salary. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to watch football, and I'm like, come on with all these political ads. I'm like, oh, yeah, they do pay my
Yeah,
salary.
exactly. So no, I mean the paywall is there for a reason, but also the physical paper. The theater reviews come out on Thursdays, and then they come out on the website on Thursdays also. And I was gonna say, I had another thought about theater reviews, but
Yeah, I have a Facebook page, Tuttle Theater Talk. Also, if you type it into any search engine, it should pop up. And on there, I also have like a little section where you can submit the show that you want me to come see. Because there's, as you mentioned, it's hard to keep track of everything. Like, these calendars are wild.
But you have a website though too, right?
I do, yeah. So
it's not just the Facebook page.
It links you to the website.
Yeah,
So
I
on the
was gonna
Facebook page has all the things. It's automatically linked. So every time I post on the website, it just shows up. And yeah, so if you want to read about some shows I've written, there you go. And you can also submit to tell me to come see your show. I'll try to come see it.
And then we have a calendar.
I have a question that says, "Can I usher?"
What I've sent Lillian, I've sent you at least one time. I don't know if I've sent it again. I'll try and keep
Please
up.
do.
I'm terrible, but I try and send you a list of upcoming shows and stuff.
Yes, I appreciate that. Sharing that has been very helpful.
Well, we try. We try and find out as much as we can. The three of us are me, Tom, and Ron, try and update as much as possible. There's just a lot. There's a lot,
Yeah.
and if we can help, we're happy to help.
There's a lot. Yeah.
We're just happy
Yeah.
to help each other. And it's community theater. I say this all the time. It's community theater. Let's act like we're all part of the same community.
Yes.
Help each other out. We saw you at the coffee shop.
I know, which is crazy. And so I was just telling this story earlier
This is
today.
how we met.
Was that I was going to write something, and I was sitting down, and I heard these two guys talking about
These two dorks. Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, these two guys talking about a high school production of happening at St. Francis, and they were talking in depth about the set design, and I thought that's a little unusual considering like the age range in these gentlemen.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna not be nosies, and I put my headphones on, and then I take them off 20 minutes later, and they were still having that conversation. And then I was
we're
like,
terrible.
and I was like, okay, now I am gonna. And I came up to you guys, and I was like,
so
hi.
glad you did.
I'm so glad. And then I was wearing at that time a Blade sweatshirt, and you were both wearing WTOL shirts. So it all,
Man.
yeah,
We're such good
Yeah.
little employees, aren't we?
Little walking billboards.
He's wearing a WTOL shirt right now.
But people do that all the time. They recognize us on the street.
Oh yeah.
awesome.
So that was cool though. That was very
Yeah.
cool because we didn't know you from anybody, and you were just sitting in with Maddie and Bella's coffee. You go there
Yeah.
all the time, so I haven't seen you in a while.
I haven't been going recently. I've liked my own chair and my own home better, but
We make it cool. A lot of people come there because we're
Yeah, well, you
Yeah,
gotta
so
come.
true.
If you come to Maddie and Bella's, you sit with us.
I will.
Don't
I will.
sit off to the side and act like you don't know us, because now we've had a conversation. You've had margaritas in my house. You can't act because if I
Absolutely.
see you
You've
sitting
shared
there,
your lore
I'm telling
here.
you, man,
I know.
If you sit there next to us like you don't know us, I will be like, wow.
no, I haven't been in a while, so this has definitely not been happening.
No, we haven't seen you. We haven't seen you.
But no, absolutely.
we go all the time. So.
Yeah.
It's one of the best coffee shops downtown for sure.
We like it because it's far away too. It has great coffee. First of all, it does have great coffee. Ron always takes a sip of the black coffee, and just every time. What do you do? You want to reenact it? Yeah. Oh, that's the best when it's
best
black
black coffee ever.
Yeah, give me the cream.
me
That's
the-
what he says. Yeah, like every single time. I'm like, okay. Yeah, and then, but it's a nice walk for us. We're chubby guys,
Yeah.
or I am, and walk over there and gives us a little exercise and excuse to not looking at the screen. So then we saw you, and that was great. And then I saw you with all of your blog posts up on Facebook, and I was like, who is this turtle guy?
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's Tuttle, not
is
Turtle.
that turtle guy?
Oh, yeah. So I randomly sent you a friend request, and you were like, yes, which is also kind of crazy. You actually said yes. Why did you say yes? Because we
Mutual.
had 700
We
friends.
had a lot of mutuals, yeah. I was
I-
like, oh, these are all people I enjoy, so sure.
He must not be evil. I do that too. There are my friend,
Yeah.
recommendations
Yeah.
like this person has 45 mutual friends. Let me see who they are. Oh, it's Joe Barton, and okay, yeah, it's a theater person.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna request him. So cool. Well, again, I love that you came here. Appreciate you doing
Thanks
this.
for having me.
Did you have another theater review
I
thing?
did.
You said?
I'm glad I almost forgot. I was going to say building legitimacy. That's the reason to review community theater is that they all want people to do it, and I think because it helps build legitimacy for these performers and actors who do take the craft that they're performing seriously.
Yeah.
So I think that it is like treating them like professionals, and I think that's really
Yeah.
valuable. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron, what were you looking for? So you were just in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and then the reviews come out. What are you looking for in the review?
My name.
Yeah.
I was looking for gushing. I was looking for rave reviews. I was looking for go see this show. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I did write about your show.
Oh,
Did
I'll
you
have to-
write?
I wrote
Are you
about
looking for specific names then besides your own? Like, are
Well,
you
the
looking for-
leads, the people who are really good, they need to get praised.
Okay. So that would be your advice to these two, is maybe at least once in a while say something nice about the people doing the stuff and not just say this is when the show is.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep that in mind. I hadn't thought of that one. So
But like you said,
It's as though you don't know theater people on
legitimacy,
stage have giant egos.
when if you read your name in a review, and that's makes the whole 4 months of work.
Well, see, that's the thing a lot with these
Yeah.
theater people, though, is they're not just working 4 months; they're working year round. You know, that's the honest truth of the lot. Even though they're community theater people, still they're doing show after show. A lot of them are taking vocal lessons, dance lessons, all these things. So they're working hard. They're not just. I mean, I know they're not professional, but they are still working pretty hard, and it is something to at least be recognized by
Yes.
somebody who isn't
Yes.
their mom or dad.
And the only difference between some of these performers really is for the term professional is if they're being paid. It's not
Right.
the quality of performance. And
Oh, yeah.
when I reviewed Man of La Mancha, and you can tell this is about to be a nice review because I
Yes.
name dropped it.
Ron, you were supposed to be in that show.
I almost auditioned.
Yeah, Ron was supposed to be in that one.
It is probably my all-time favorite musical. It's something that I watched a lot as a kid.
You
The
love
terrible
that. You went
film.
and saw it, didn't you, Ron?
I went and saw it at the Rep.
And you gushed about it
I
too.
gushed about it.
Oh
yes.
yeah, I mean Eric Hillenbrand.
Yes,
Oh,
he
you
was
did?
born.
You
He
brought
was
Eric's name up also.
he was born to be that.
He
to
was
be
so
to be Mr.
good.
La Mancha, right?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Quixote.
Oh my goodness.
So good. But my grandfather had recently passed away, and he played. He was a community theater actor in Chicago, and he was in a performance in the park. I can't think of what they were called, but they had it was an open air theater, and they had something like 3,000 people at these performances, and he was Sancho. He was a little old
sidekick.
man, yeah, and everyone remembered that performance so fondly, and he had passed away just weeks before that performance, and I talked about that a little bit in the review and said that I'm blanking on his name, but the performer who played Sancho did a great job, and he actually wrote to me and said I've never reached out after years and years, but that meant a lot to me. So I know how much it means to people to be mentioned in these stories, and I want to be doing that as genuinely as possible,
Right.
but also, keeping in mind how much it can mean on both sides.
Yeah, genuinely is the key.
Yeah.
The key is, did somebody move you? Did somebody actually do a performance that you were shocked by? Like, wow, that was actually, I was shocked at how good that person was. Otherwise, you can write about something else. You know?
Yeah.
Because it is, if you don't waste the ink on the paper,
sure.
really, if you're not sincere about it. So.
I just had an actor reach out to me after one of my reviews, and because I was gushing about her wardrobe the entire show, in my review, every time I'd mention something else, I'm like, but also seriously, your wardrobe, where did you get it? And she sent me links, so thank you.
That's awesome.
But yeah, and so they're reading it.
That's
These
I
are
was
real
gonna
people,
say, these
and
are
they're
real
reading
people,
them.
and they are reading
Yes.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
And nobody tells us we're any good, do they, Ron?
Well, the other validating thing is when I did that last review that I did not love the show, so a reader reached out to me and said, I was there that night too. I completely agree. And that was really validating.
You're like, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
the exact wording was, I wouldn't go see this again unless my grandchildren were in it.
Not my cup of tea.
Not my cup of tea. But I just think that it's we're part of the community too. So it's something that we're trying to build people up with that legitimacy, but you have to have. Actually, I felt better after that review came out because I was like, now people know when I write the nice ones that I really mean it. Those reviews are genuine. I'm not just trying to hype people
You're
up
not
who don't
blowing
deserve
smoke
it.
up people.
Yeah.
It's like, every single one is great.
For sure.
Exactly.
Because again, you are just like the parents and the uncles
Yeah.
and the aunts that come to the show, and it's like, well, yeah, I saw that show. It was
And to
a wreck.
echo and enhance what you just said, I am literally part of the community. I hope I have 2 auditions coming up. So
So is Ron. Ron's doing shows
I could
too.
be in a show with people I write about. I could be
Another way
potentially
for you to get free
auditioning.
tickets, apparently, huh?
Yeah.
She'll
Put me
critique her
in
own
your show.
She'll critique her own show.
Nicole
I thought
chick
about
was
it.
so good.
I thought about it. I just finished Something Rotten back where I was from, and I was like, how can I write about this? I was like, I can't.
I was
can't do
so
that.
good. That was amazing.
It was like, wow.
I mean, Nicole was, not I.
Yeah.
I I think I was like sitting on a point, and I finally remembered it. Is that also theater education? I mean, I don't have a master's degree in theater, but because I went to Toledo School for the Arts, I have such a foundation in theater.
Yeah.
It comes
Yeah.
naturally.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like everything that I learn, I don't. The things that other people might be learning later in life, I just like don't even have to think about. Sometimes I am like, oh my god, I don't even know what I'm talking about. How can I be writing theater?
How dare I, right? Yeah.
But that doesn't happen super frequently because I remember I do have this strong theater foundation that I would have gotten even if I hadn't taken those additional
is
classes.
awesome.
Well, also, I don't
Yeah.
think that matters. I really don't. I think I think the general public is who you're writing for.
Yes.
You're writing. You're not writing for the artsy fartsy theater people. You're writing for the general public, and the general public isn't going to have this massive understanding about stage left, stage right, back, whatever. They want to know if it's a good show.
Yes,
and,
and
who's going to
yeah.
be great, and what should I see, and is it worth my money?
Completely agree.
That's all.
I think that you should have some knowledge, but you don't need the world's
I'm
encyclopedia.
going to give this place
Yeah.
4 hours of my time. Should I? That's what
Yeah.
they want to know.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Man, you guys
Yeah.
are amazing. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Keep doing it, okay? And then I'll keep sending you shows. You send me shows, all that kind of stuff. We
sure.
can just
Yes,
keep working
absolutely.
together,
It could
man.
be a triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
Square.
it.
a quadrangle. Or something
Yes.
like that. Thanks for coming on. Bye.
Yeah, of course.